We are taught to expect a spiritual awakening to look like a stock photo: endless peace, glowing clarity, and a quiet exit from mundane life. This polished image shatters for millions who find the actual experience feels more like a collision. The reality is much harder to market. It starts with an aggressive intolerance for small talk, a heavy physical fatigue that rest can't fix, and a sense of isolation that feels like watching your own life from behind thick glass. Without a map for these symptoms, the mind searches for an explanation. Most people land on the same terrifying conclusion: they are having a breakdown. This total collapse functions as the first phase of a systematic recalibration. You are witnessing the demolition of an old operating system. To understand the pain, look at the blueprint of your identity. Over decades, you've built a structure on load-bearing pillars of borrowed beliefs and performed relationships. Awakening begins by pulling those pillars away. As the external structure yields, the version of you designed to satisfy other people's expectations finally gives way. Only after this collapse do we find the unrefined, glowing core of the actual self. Surviving this phase requires recognizing that your essence isn't what's falling apart. You are only losing the components that were never truly yours to begin with. The deepest point of this demolition is the dark night of the soul. It presents as a profound emptiness, a space where the old ego has died, but the new self has yet to be born. The 16th century mystic, St. John of the Cross, documented this passage as a necessary purification. He described it as a spiritual winter, where the soul is stripped of everything false to reach what is real. This state creates a terrifying vacuum of meaning, because you can no longer return to who you were and cannot yet see who you are becoming. You exist in a gap between worlds. You cannot research or think your way out of this void. This is a process of energetic surrender, where the only goal is to remain present while the mind's old frameworks dissolve. The discomfort of the void often drives people towards spiritual bypassing. This is a psychological defense where we use high-level spiritual concepts to avoid facing deep, unresolved human pain. It manifests in phrases like, "it's all an illusion," or "everything happens for a reason." These are often used as shortcuts to bypass the heavy, essential labor of grief or anger. These spiritual justifications act as a shield, insulating core wounds from the very awareness needed to heal them. This keeps the person in a state of suspended animation, performing enlightenment while staying chronically stuck. Real growth demands a willingness to enter the density of our actual lives. It requires moving through our human experiences without the protection of spiritual slogans. Modern wellness culture often suggests that simply feeling sadness or anger means you've dropped to a low frequency. This framing turns normal human emotions into a source of spiritual shame. A low-frequency state is actually defined by this repetitive circular loop. It is a condition of numbness, avoidance, and the unconscious repetition of the same unhealed behaviors over and over. Paulette Jordan saw this loop firsthand after her 2018 political campaign. The disappointment of the loss initially solidified into a permanent identity. Until she chose to process the grief, she remained tethered to that single, low-frequency moment. There is a massive difference between moving through grief and living as grief. One is a passage toward clarity. The other is an anchor that prevents any further evolution. High frequency is the developed capacity to stay honest with yourself in the middle of a struggle. It is the ability to move through pain rather than hiding from it. Once you stop relying on external gurus or forced positivity, you need a way to navigate the wreckage of the old self. Every human possesses a biological navigation system, the inner signal. This is a physiological response to alignment that the body produces automatically. When you encounter something that resonates with your core truth, the body opens with a feeling of warmth and expansion. When you face a falsehood or self-betrayal, you feel a sharp physical contraction. We are conditioned from childhood to ignore this biological truth detector. We are taught to prioritize societal rules and the expectations of others over the very real data our nervous system is providing. Recalibrating your life starts with the mundane, daily choice to feel that physical signal and act on what it tells you. The isolation you feel during this process is a byproduct of changing your frequency. You are learning a language that the world you left behind simply does not speak yet. Millions of people are currently undergoing this same architectural demolition. As each person tunes to their own inner signal, they begin to form a network of lights across the void, a new infrastructure for a different way of living. The pain of awakening is the friction of the old self giving way. By allowing the demolition to finish, you are finally clearing the space required for a more authentic version of your life to take root.